the authority, passionate, magnetic, alpha, commanding, influencing, inspiring, persistent, positive, driven, successful. This is who we are as pros.
This is Turning Pro Academy, your #1 resource for creating the business, lifestyle, and freedom you want. Learn to build an epic life with the no BS, proven online business mastery. The real-world advice and strategies used by the world's best so that you can live your dream.
Welcome to the Turning Pro Academy. I'm your host and your coach, Chris Dufay, and I'm here giving you a very big thank you for being here with me right now. I know there are more podcast choices than you can poke a stick at, so it does. It makes me smile that you have plugged me in your ears right now, and it is time to FedEx and deliver. I'm bringing on Tucker Max, which you will find out his awesomeness very soon as he will show you. But really, I want to just add in a 3-time New York Times bestselling author, and he's now showing others just like you how to create your own book, how to do it smarter and faster, and how to create it as a real success. We're going to be delving into in this episode what you really need to be focused on when it's building your business and what your brand really is, why it's so important for you to get a book out there to showcase yourself, what to do and what not to do when it comes to writing and put together your book, and a lot more. I'm not going to drag this out as there is so much that Tucker really shoots with the truth in this episode for you. What you're going to take away from today's episode, I know will have you more confident, in charge, and taking the right action. So strap yourself in, as this is about to give you the success that you want. And if you're loving this, then you can really put a big smile on my dial, and I'll throw you a virtual fist bump and even shout you out to the hundreds of thousands. The best compliment you can give me is leaving an iTunes review. Right now, you can click on over and give me the feedback that I want to eat up. If you're loving it, then a 5-star review is tops, but give me your honest feedback. You can click on over right now on your phone, on your computer, whatever you're listening to me right now with. If you're walking, if you're cooking, if you're shopping, if you're driving though, pulling over, just for safety's sakes, and then you can do it. Now, I know that you love soaking in the audio and the podcast. So if you're wanting to burn fat, build and transform your body, then tune into and subscribe to the Fit Body Pro podcast over at fitbodypro.com. This is where I can give you the specially advanced, proven strategies, plans and advice along with the best of the best that I bring on for you. It's all killer, no filler, making sure you avoid the frustration and confusion when it comes to your health, your fitness, and your physique. Though, to really get the most out of being here with me right now, you need to get on over to turningproacademy.com. Right now, waiting for you is the treasure trove. There's the free guides and the online workshops and the insights that are coming straight out of the 6-figure PT program. So don't be a peanut and miss out on these, as this is all over, covering such things as how to double your clients, how to start and build your online fitness business, or building your reputation, your following, and your career along with your business success. So I'm giving away the exact steps so you don't miss it. So make sure you get that along with the show notes and links from this episode and every other episode coming along. Now it's time to get straight into this with Tucker. I really know you're going to enjoy this. Get in contact with me straight after this and let me know what you thought, what you took away, and what you want more of. The phenomenal Tucker Max, thank you so much for taking your time out and coming on to the Turning Pro Academy podcast, mate. I really appreciate you being here, and just saying before we kind of hit record that there is more ways that we can go in this interview than I can poke a stick at, which is a great thing. But firstly, mate, thank you so much for being here.
Definitely. Thank you for having me, man.
All right. Now, I think so many people might be wondering who Tucker Max is if they don't know who they are. Can you give a quick nutshell of who you are and why you are so phenomenal?
Well, where do you want me to start? It's kind of a long. There's a lot to say.
Nutshell, Tucker. I said nutshell.
All right. So right now I'm the CEO of a company called Book in a Box, which is doing pretty cool stuff. I started as an author. I wrote 3 books that were all #1 New York Times bestsellers. They sold millions of copies, created a literary genre. That's probably a nutshell.
Okay, good. Now, why should someone want to? What drove you to write your first book?
Dude, the honest God answer is a combination of luck and sort of right time, right place. Like I after we left law school, me and most of my friends hated our jobs, and so like I spent a lot of time writing emails about the ridiculous things I was doing to make my friends laugh. But, like I'd go out, get drunk, act like an idiot, and write a funny email about it the next day. And it turned out, I thought only my friends would find those emails funny, but it turned out that a lot of people would. And so I ended up sort of putting all my stories up on a website. It kind of blew up, publishing deal. There's obviously a lot more details, but I got into writing because I was good at it. Mm-hmm. Not because I sat down or I decided one day that I wanted to be a writer.
Obviously, okay, great. Because obviously a lot of people do start doing things just simply because they like it. And you obviously just turned that into something that obviously made you $1 at the end of the day and continued from there. Uh-huh. Why do you think you have had 3 #1 New York Times bestsellers?
Because I write books that people want to read.
That was something I was actually just about to say. Okay, my next question was going to be, so screw you, was going to be, other than writing a book people actually want to read, because I see it in 3 stages, and absolutely correct me if I'm wrong, is obviously you've got to write a book that 1, someone wants to actually buy, 2, they've actually got to invest the time to read in, and then the third part is you hope to actually use it as well. So where does that all come into for you when you're writing a book?
I mean, so I wrote short stories about my life. Like I kind of, I mean, not to be sort of like arrogant about it, but the reality is like the holy grail for most writers is being able to write about your own life and make money on it.
Yeah.
And there's almost no one on earth who can do it. And I'm one of the ones who can do it. And I did it because I approached it the opposite way of almost everyone else who tries to do this. And instead of everyone who tries to get paid to write about their life starts with their own life. That's fucking stupid. No one cares about your life.
Yeah.
What people care about are themselves. And so my stories, I kind of got lucky in a way, because my story started as a way to make my friends laugh. It wasn't, most people start writing as a way to either therapy or basically boils down to they want attention, right? But I didn't start that way. I started actually trying to create value for somebody else, just humor for my friends. And it turned out I could do it for the world. But you need to start at any point as a writer, no matter what type of stuff you're writing, the first question needs to be really not even how or what am I trying to get out of this or what do I want. The real first question needs to be, what do I know or what can I say that anyone else will care about or find valuable? And that's where I started. Most people don't.
Okay. Why do you think it sold so well from there? What was the tipping point that you saw?
Marketers always want to ask me the marketing questions because marketers think that selling something is about marketing. It's not. This is the thing that none of you people understand. Like, if you consider this your rule of thumb, what I'm about to tell you is not precisely true, but it is directionally true. And if you use it as your rule of thumb, you're going to be very successful. No marketing will make shitty stuff sell.
Yeah.
And almost anything you do marketing-wise will work if what you're selling is good, whether you're doing a good job marketing or not. And so you want to be a great marketer, then start with something that people want. And then marketing's easy.
So obviously be a good writer first and produce something, and then obviously the marketing.
No, dude. No, you're missing the point again. There's a lot of people who would tell you I'm not a good writer. Okay, and I never cared whether I was a good writer or not. What I cared about was whether or not other people wanted to pay money to read my stories. Being a good, when you say be a good writer, most people think that means write fancy sentences.
No, I mean write a book that's obviously giving them what they want.
Right. Well, see, okay, that's good. Not most people don't think that. They think good writing is has to be whatever fancy literary.
No, screw that. I'm talking about be a good writer, as in write something. Someone's going, I'm going to pay money and sink my teeth into that.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, excellent. Now, did Book in a Box come about from you kind of breaking down the system from what got you so far where you were?
No, it didn't. I wish it had, because if it had, then I would have done it like a decade ago, and I would have a lot more money than I do now. So it basically came about by accident, and it's another example of a little bit of luck, but me picking up that piece of luck and running with it. Right. This woman, long story short, I was at an entrepreneur dinner, and this woman basically asked me how she could write a book without writing it. And I made fun of her at first and kind of like called her out a little bit about hard work. And the funny thing is, this woman has done 10 times more in her life than I have. And so she like basically said, "Are you an entrepreneur?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, a real entrepreneur would help me solve my problems and not lecture me about hard work." And I was like, "Oh," because she was 100% totally right. And so I just changed what I was doing and realized, all right, I got to help her with this. And so I broke apart the entire process out of necessity to solve this woman's problem. And I realized as I was doing it that a lot of other people wanted this solution. I honestly I wasn't thinking about this as a company or as anything like this. It just kind of like fell into my lap because I did a really good job solving her problem about how to write a book without having to sit down at a keyboard and type it out, you know? And that's how the company started.
All right, phenomenal. Now, maybe even before we jump into that process for someone to kind of understand what Book in a Box is all about, why should someone write a book, especially coaches, consultants, trainers, like the professionals out there? We're not talking about like writing the greatest American story or any of that. What is it really that these people should be producing?
So, that's a good question. I think for most people, a book is a lead gen for something else. It's a way to get something else, right? So if you're a coach, how do you find clients? There's a lot of ways to find clients, but one of the best ways to find clients or customers is Amazon. So why is that? Think about like if you type in how to lose weight into Google, it's like a fucking disaster, right? And most people aren't going to sort through that mess. But so what they do is they go to one of two places. They go to the number 2 and number 3 largest search engines on the internet. Do you know what? Number 1's obviously Google. Do you know what number 2 and number 3 are?
YouTube.
YouTube is number 2. Do you know what number 3 is?
I'm gonna have a really guesstimation that you've already brought up and say Amazon.
Yes, it's Amazon. Okay. And no, it is.
You gave me an easy one.
If you're a coach, having a YouTube channel that sort of has a preview or teaches your stuff, I think crucial. And having a book is also crucial, right? Because books, Amazon is the number 1 search engine for professionals.
Yeah.
And you need, that's what you need in order to, I don't say you need it. There are people who succeed without books, right? But most of the best consultants, coaches, go down the list, even entrepreneurs use books to launch their business, drive leads to their business, find clients, charge more to existing clients, raise their status, raise their credibility, get speaking gigs. I mean, you kind of go down the list. I just got off the phone 2 hours ago with one of probably the best, most respected scientists in the world. He's like one of the big minds at the Singularity Institute. And he's like, he wants to do a book with us for one reason, because he doesn't have a book done. And he's this amazing scientist, and like people to some extent don't take him as seriously because he doesn't have a book. They expect him to have one. And he's like, look, I could have one. I'm busy running 2 companies and doing research and working at Singularity Institute. I don't have time to do a book. And it's like, okay, great. That's literally what our service does, is turn your existing ideas and wisdom into a book. And all you have to do is find, 10 to 15 hours to spend on the phone with us. He's like, I'm in, done. And so like a book is it's a social object and a piece of our culture that has its sort of a very different position than anything else. And it just adds credibility, a type of credibility that you just can't get any other way.
Okay, beautiful. So there's obviously, let's just say I was like, who the hell is Tucker Max? Obviously, one way is if you come up with a book that I'm searching for on Amazon, that credibility, that authority kind of figure comes through. And is that just because it's like having a book has stemmed from being so hard to do previously?
Yes, there's a couple things. Yeah, it used to be part of the credibility is, and the authority comes from the fact that it used to be very hard to get published.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big part of it. The other part is still if you don't have enough ideas, look, you can just put nonsense together for 300 pages and put a cover on it and call it a book if you want. But if you actually expect people to take you seriously, the ideas in the book have to be good, and they have to be not just good ideas, but they also have to be presented in a professional way. And that means everything: good title, professional cover, good Amazon, like a professional Amazon page, a professional author photo, professional layout. People do not judge books by the content. I would say at best 30% of the judgment of a book is by the content.
Huh.
The vast majority of judgment of the book, at least 50%, is by the presentation of the book. Yeah. That is a major signal of the quality of the ideas and the quality of the author, right? And so that's one of the big things that we offer is professionalism, professional publishing, right?
Yeah.
Which is that's the distinction. That's why everyone cares about traditional publishing. That's why self-publishing is looked down on, is because early self-publishing was really, really poorly done. But there's plenty of some of the best-selling authors in the world now publish their own stuff. They just do it professionally.
Okay, beautiful. So why would someone, if someone's thinking about, okay, I want to do a book, they're in it, I think also as well as a funny thing that I heard was most people, everyone has a book in them, but that's where it should stay because...
No. First off, everyone does not have a book in them, and no, it should not stay in them if they have one. So the people who say that are those are the people who like to look at, they're the literary snobs who think that only certain voices should be heard, the right voices, right? Those are the sort of people who like to exclude other people and who measure their status based on sort of how exclusive they are. That's bullshit. That's the mindset that leads to, and I'm being very literal, that's the mindset that leads to Black people not being allowed to ride the same place as a bus.
Yeah.
Gay people not being allowed to be married. Mexicans not being allowed in the country. All this horrible fucking shit that's the same attitude as there are too many books.
Good.
I think there aren't enough books, to be honest.
Okay, this is awesome.
It's just there aren't enough good books.
So does that mean, and this is what I kind of wanted to lead to, that obviously your service, the Book in the Box, is that middleman to make sure that happens?
That's what we would like to be.
Yeah. Awesome.
So right now, our service is not cheap at all. We charge $16,000 as for the basic sort of normal package, and then we have a sort of even higher tier package. So that's not cheap, and there are not a lot of people that can afford that. Now, listen, if you have a business or a consultancy or a coach, paying, $16,000 for a book is easy decision because, if one client is worth $5,000, then you just need, it just needs to add 4 clients to make sense. Right. So for a lot of people, it's an easy decision. But what we've done a couple things to expand the pie because we're starting at the high margin, high ticket sort of end of the field, so we don't have to take VC money, and so we can sort of make money at the beginning. But we already released a book called The Book in a Box Method, which is on sale for whatever $2.99, 99 cents, or whatever on Amazon. It details our exact process, and when I say our exact process, I mean these are the literal docs and templates that our freelancers use to run our process through with our clients. And then a long term, what we'd love to do is turn our service into, or turn our sort of process into software as a service so that we can take the price point down from $16,000, maybe all the way down to $100.
Wow.
Now, it won't be necessarily as exactly full service as the high touch sort of service, because at that point, those are people who have a lot of money but no time, and so they're buying time and expertise from us. So if you've got a lot of time and no money, that's fine. Our software as a service will guide you through the whole process, but you just have to do most of the work, right? And what that does is that allows anyone who has anything to say to not just publish a book, because now anyone can in theory publish a book, right? But in order for your book to be taken seriously, there's it has to be structured a certain way, it has to be done professionally. So there's what's called structural barriers now. I think we can remove the structural barriers so that anyone can publish a professional book of their ideas. Because I think more voices need to be heard, not less.
I think it's a real noble thing that you're doing, really helping people bring this about. And obviously, this was one reason why I initially reached out to you as well, was because obviously what you're being able to do is give people that sort of system to be able to go through. What did you say the hourly sort of effort has to be put in from the author? 12 hours, was it?
So, no. So we like to use this sort of measure. So if you're a normal person to write a nonfiction book, you're looking at between 1,000 and 2,000 hours if you do it totally on your own. With our book, like using the book in a box method, if you were to buy the book and do it yourself, I think it takes a zero off the end. We're looking at 100 to 200 hours on your own. If you pay us 16 grand, it's 12 to 15 hours on the phone. You take another zero off.
So you can actually really see the return on investment from that anyway.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's if you're a professional, a serious professional, you're probably making your time's worth at least a few $100s an hour, if not thousands of dollars an hour. So, I mean, there's a lot of our clients are like, they literally charge their clients more than 500 or $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
So spending 15 hours on the phone with us as opposed to even 100 hours on their own is the easiest decision they make all year.
Do you see that the people that can't make that connection, you just simply don't want to work with?
Yeah. We don't work with everybody, but well, first off, one of the reasons we charge a high price is to limit our because we can't handle right now. I think we signed like 20 clients this month, and we can only handle. We'll be able to do 50 a month by the end of the year, and then maybe by the end of next year, 200 a month. But no, we can't handle like 1,000 a month right now. So like we charge a lot to limit supply to make sure that we can offer super high touch service to everybody, etc. But as we sort of really refine the process and as we scale, we'll be able to make it cheaper, quicker, faster, more efficient, just like any company. As you get bigger, you get better.
Can I ask what's the current bottleneck with the capacity with the Book in a Box now? Is it simply just the manpower on your side being able to obviously...
No, not really. There's so many amazing freelancers out there, and our process is really good. And how we sort of find freelancers and integrate them in our process, we use really, really talented people in a really smart way. That's actually not the bottleneck. Right now, our bottleneck is our business processes, quite honestly. It's just like any startup. We kind of just started, and then it's like we kind of just did stuff without thinking about how do we make this a systematic process. Then we made it a systematic process. Now the actual problem is scaling. How do we make this a systematic process that scales? So we actually, and neither Zach nor I, my co-founder, are experts at building scalable processes, but we built the hard part is figuring the process out.
Yeah.
Like a lot of business MBA types can make it scalable. We actually just hired the chief of staff at AMD, the woman who was responsible for building the processes to one of the biggest chip making companies in the world. She just left them and is coming to work for us to help us build our process, to make them sort of scalable processes.
Fantastic. Okay, well, Book in a Box is about to go gangbusters then. Now, let's kind of transition just because we've got a little bit of time left there, Tucker. I really want to know your understanding and how you go about your own personal branding per se, because as I was creeping you out before, it came up as in you were nominated in the 100 most influential list in 2009.
Right.
Why do you think that came about?
Because I was a very influential media figure at the time. Like I started Fratire. Fratire was a big deal at the time. I had written books that had sold millions of copies. My name was everywhere. I don't know. I guess. I mean, I didn't put myself on the list. Time Magazine did. So you got to ask them.
Okay, I'll interview them. Now, with the kind of transition that you've made from the previous persona that you've been before to who you are now, how have you brought that about? Because everything that you see that, I didn't even know what the timeline was, but everything was all about the books you originally started producing and the content there, and now everything that you're doing now. How have you made that transition?
So it's funny. Just think about the way you phrased it, though. You're like, oh, how did you make a transition from a persona to a different persona? I actually didn't. I'm a person who is now doing different things.
Yeah.
And then as a result, my life reflects that. I think in our culture, there's, I think, an implicit assumption that anyone famous, and for any reason at all, is full of shit And so the media's job is to figure out what the real story is, right? And I think that, listen, 40 years ago, whatever, when there was a small number of media outlets and a small number of famous people or whatever, then that made a lot of sense, right? But that doesn't make any sense anymore. Like my life has never operated through a media outlet. It's always been direct. Like I was one of the first people with a blog. I was the first one to go blog to book. I was the first blog to book that was a bestseller. I was the first blog to movie. Like I've always been just who I am, not a tool of the media. So I've never thought I had a personal brand. I was just who I was, which actually in a lot of ways interfered with having a personal brand, because a personal brand is essentially being a symbol. Yeah. Like Kim Kardashian is a great example of someone who has a personal brand. Yeah. You know, like she is not a person. She is essentially a symbol in media for a certain lifestyle that a lot of women want to sort of emulate or whatever. Right? Yeah. I'm not like that. I don't do that. I've never been like that, and that's not who I am. So I just decide how I want to live my life. I don't make branding decisions.
You just do what you want to do, and obviously everything comes from that. And they report on obviously just what you're doing.
Well, right, but it's funny. It's like like there's a lot of media is like, "Oh, your brand has changed. Tell us how that happened." I'm like, my fucking brand hasn't fucking changed at all. I don't have a brand. Yeah. I'm a human being. Yeah, but I'm
just doing different things now.
Right, exactly. Like I have a wife and kids. Yeah. I didn't get together with a brand manager and decide I should marry some woman and pop a kid out, and they're just
that's a great point of view that you brought across, and I think so many people need to hear that, is because I think so much of the time they're trying to think of what other people are thinking of them and making decisions that way, where obviously like you have a wife and child, like just like I do now. It's not like I suddenly went, "Oh, this will be a great marketing move if I have a kid now." Like that does not happen. It's obviously you just do it and you just do different things.
Now, granted, that's what Angelina Jolie did. That's how she makes decisions, but she is quite literally nothing but a brand. She's not a person. Yeah. Like someone like that at that level in Hollywood, I think to ask those questions makes a lot of sense. Right. It doesn't make sense to ask the questions of people like you and me who are human beings first and then happen to work in the media.
No, this is good. Now, last question, completely off topic, head snapping turn. Why do you think MMA is so important with how our ancestral health has become? Because I watched a video before. I only got about 3/4 of the way through.
Right. So I gave a speech a few years ago at the inaugural Ancestral Health Conference talking about the role of mixed martial arts. Because, look, there's a big movement now in the world, like paleo eating and CrossFit, ancestral health and all that stuff. People are starting to understand that humans evolved in a certain environment, and we evolved to live a certain way, to interact with other people a certain way, to eat certain foods, right? But and that's fantastic. Like paleo is really healthy, or all the different types of diets that are similar, like slow carb diet or bulletproof diet. They're all basically perfect health diets. They're all basically the same. Yeah. But there's a big missing part of this discussion. And the reality is, whether you like it or not, the reality is humans evolved in a violent world to utilize violence. And it doesn't mean we have to go beat each other up, but we need to understand and recognize that we have the capacity for violence and that it is a part of our identity. In fact, like our facial structure, the way our bones on our face work is because, or the way they look is because we've had so much hand-to-hand combat in our evolution that our like the reason our brow ridges are raised and the reason like certain sort of skull patterns. No, seriously, that's the reason our skull patterns look different than chimps and gorillas, because they don't have a history of hand-to-hand combat in the way that we do. And so like their bodies have evolved into different ways to accommodate different forms of combat. But the point is, like, we in Western society, we like have this idea that all violence is always bad and that all conflict is always bad. And my simple point was that's just not true. That there are ways to have conflict and violence that are actually healthy and beneficial, right? And clearly sexual assault is not one of those, and robbery is not one of those. But there's ways to control it and to deal with it that help us express who we are as humans instead of being destructive.
Do you think it becomes a lot healthier in the way of what you do on the mat and that training? I think it brings about a certain just self-confidence that you take with yourself off the mat as well. And that I find that actually diffuses the situations?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of research about this. It's so funny. Like, people who don't understand the world think that, like, oh, like video game violence makes people more violent. The data is very clear that it actually has the opposite effect. And people are like, oh, people who train in MMA are more violent. And the data is very clear. It actually has the opposite effect. There's a great study done. I forget the police department, but like a huge police department like Vegas or somebody did this comprehensive longitudinal study. They took half of their force and trained them pretty heavily in mixed martial arts type sort of combat, sort of adapted a little bit to police work, right?
Yeah.
And then the other half, they just basically gave them the normal police training. And a year later, they went back and looked at the data. The half that were MMA trained were a third less likely to get into any sort of physical altercation.
Wow.
And they had 80% less police brutality complaints.
Wow.
Like, incredible, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have been in a fight and if you know how to deal with fights, you are always not only are you more confident about yourself as a man or a woman, but you know how to deal with violence so you don't get freaked out when something happens and react sort of like in a crazy way, which is how people who've never been in fights act when there's a violent situation coming.
Yeah. It's kind of like they don't understand how to flick the switch or control it when that has to happen. But
right, exactly.
No, I completely agree. Okay, beautiful. I really appreciate you answering that as well. Now we're bang on time, Tucker. So look, I know right now the listener is just frothing at the mouth to know more about you. So where do they go?
If you care about Book in a Box, if that's interesting, just go to bookinabox.com or look up the book on Amazon. To know about me, I don't know. There's not that much else interesting about me. The best place is either if you want to read my old stories that are funny, go to tuckermax.com or pick up my books, or I've got another site, tuckermax.me, that's sort of like newer, more intellectual stuff.
All right, fantastic. I'll link to all that stuff in the show notes for the listener to get straight over there. Tucker, I really appreciate you taking the time for myself and the listener, mate. Huge thanks. So, mate, looking forward to chatting soon.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Talk to you later.
If you want to become the go-to, the leader, and the authority in your business, and you want a constant flow of new clients and sales all day, every day, go right now to turningproacademy.com. No more hype, BS, or wasted time. This is all real-world advice and strategies that the world's best use to 10x their businesses, generate more money, and get back their time. We'll see you next time on Turning Pro Academy.